Alright, so today we're going to be taking a look at Frost, and you guys have been asking me to play it. It had tons of upvotes when I asked for a poll of what you'd like to see next, so I decided to put something together here. Now, it isn't very different from the version I had last season. However, there's a couple minor changes in the bronze end. So before, I had the Taskmaster and I had a Drowner for movement tech and purified tech. However, I felt like in this event we can get away with just using the natural selection. There's a lot of siege matchups going around. There's a lot of matchups with good 4-power engines, so having the extra removal really makes a difference here. And this video will be a testament to see kind of how it performs and that it performs in the current meta. And I went on to play a bunch of games today, and I'll show you guys real quickly what we came up with here. So pretty good record all in all. They were close games for the most part, but we did get a loss, and I'll include the first 7 for you guys in this video here in the order that they were played for reference. So I think it's pretty good. We were able to finish placements with the deck and come up with a peak MMR of 2439, I believe, at the time. Now obviously there's room for improvement with that, but I do think that we could probably push it higher if we continue to play games with the deck. I'm pretty confident with it. It doesn't play very well into Nilfgaard Assimilate, but it does play very well into just about every other matchup that I'm thinking of at this point. So we'll go through the deck list a little bit here. We have Oberyn, and on this card's deploy we get to spawn and play a random Wild Hunt card. So we want to wait till round 3 and play this card, because not only does it get Veil, but we get to choose from a pool of cards. It just gives it a bit more consistency. Whenever we play a Wild Hunt unit, boost it by 1. So if we can get this down early in round, then it's ideal. If we can play this combo on a row that is opposite of one that has Frost on their side, we're getting extra points, right, from the passive off our leader. So we definitely want to go and position it that way. I did include the Spear Tip combo because I'm really keen on it. I really like this pair. Even if muzzles are going around, I think it's still worth it. And old Spear Tip asleep after 3 turns brings out Spear Tip. If it's damaged, then it banishes itself and brings out Spear Tip anyways. If it's not, Spear Tip comes out and absorbs basically the base power of the Spear Tip asleep, and makes this an 18, which is really good for the Wrath and really good for the Osril, and just really good for tempo in the first round, making sure we get dominance for some of our bronze engines like the Wild Hunt Hounds and like the Wild Hunt Riders, maybe Aridin for example as well. So definitely really good options there with having that Spear Tip in there. And the main thing is consistency in point slam, so does really well doing that with the Aridin. So this card here on deploy, spawn Frost on an enemy row for 2 turns. If we have dominance, increase damage dealt by Frost by 1. So if we can get this card out early enough and play Frost for a nice long round, then we'll be doing 3 damage per row per turn of Frost. And you can see how that would add up pretty quick. This card demands removal, so when this card sees that removal, oftentimes our bigger, more point slammy plays will actually stick. So that's the benefit of having Aridin here. If left untreated, it just does so much damage, and I really like the card. We have Naglfar because we are Devotion here. I can't be fitting Royal Decrees and stuff like that in the deck. So look at 2 random gold cards from your deck, play 1 and place the other to the top. I recommend playing this card late round 2 or early round 3. Try and get out your thinning with the Gales into the Ardgeth first, because you don't want to be pulling this, or the Winter Queen off the Naglfar, otherwise you just kind of ruin it a little bit. And preferably try and get out the Spear Tip asleep into the Spear Tip as well before you play this if possible, right? So that you don't pull into that. You kind of want to be looking for maybe the Toad Prince, one of these 2 here, Oberyn for example, stuff like that, right? The other stuff could be achieved or found through other ways. So that's pretty much it. We have Imlerith's Wrath, huge amount of damage. I don't have Imlerith to go with it here. I didn't really think it was the best fit. However, that's something you can definitely consider. I don't see a problem with maybe taking out Naglfar, putting Imlerith, and using like a Conqueror as like the Thin, which is fine. You can do that if you want to, but I like it this way. We're pulling all the cards we need when we need them, so it felt pretty good. But the Imlerith would essentially give this card the ability to destroy a unit versus damage by highest power, but I'm finding usually we're able to destroy the unit we're looking for because we have such a big ceiling with cards like this or the Osril play or just even these boosted on a Frost row to 8 or 9 if we play them off Oberyn, right? So it makes a big difference just having that big reach already with this type of deck that I didn't think it was necessary. However, moving on to the next one, we've just got tons and tons of Frost. I like this card for 8 provisions, right? We could play it 2 times throughout the game. Frost for 3 turns on the row. We can help break up the rows even more with our leader being able to push units to other rows to make sure we separate for Frost. We have the Bruisers here and the potential ones that we could pull off the Oberyn King to really help separate things so that we're getting the max value from the Frost there. And it feels appropriate to have Nilfgaard on the deck now because of the reworked leader ability. So if we put this down on melee and we already have Frost on melee, it immediately puts this card out of 5-point removal, which is really nice, right? It boosts it to 6 power, so it is going to stick for a very good engine throughout a long round if, you know, we can keep it up there. So gives them a little bit more to work for, and 2 points of damage per turn really helps out. That, chipping away with the Frost, we can manipulate what we're trying to get rid of, and it's kind of nice. It reminds me of Kelly, but with Frost instead of Kelly. So that's basically it. Now we have Winter Queen. This is going to be another way that we're going to be thinning our deck out quite a bit, right? On Devotion, it has Thrive, so we kind of want to fix it Devotion. Like, that's the kind of way that things are leaning in this deck here. So this will summon itself to the ranged row, and then we can play our cards that are 5 or plus power to really get this going for the Thrive. And I don't mind playing this out in maybe around 1, but it's also not bad if you're playing it in around 3, because it does kind of add a lot of points to the board. So use your discretion. If you're pushing in round 1, it's not a bad idea to take this out. But if you're winning and it's a landslide, I wouldn't really try and force taking this card out because you can maybe save it for later. Toad Prince, one of my favorite monster cards right now, being able to consume a unit with 4 or less power. This is going to remove one of their engines, give us tons of points, proc Thrive, everything at the same time. So it just feels like a requirement in a lot of my monster decks right now to have this card. Gales is alright, but I feel like when we take him out, it's not good. So he's here, and it works, right? Gales can tutor any of our Wild Hunt cards. We have 3 of them, so we might be missing one. It might be necessary to go and pull that, so that's why he's here. Just use it for whichever one you need, really, out of the 3. And Osrol, again, offensive consume to take care of something from their grave that they try to establish, like a Melusine, for example. Or we can just go fetch into something like a Conqueror, but ideally the Spear Tips. So we have options and flexibility with that card. Aperian Phantom's just a good engine with removal reach, having the 3 damage on order, so we can use that in addition to Nilfgaard to remove something, or go in with the Frost and, you know, chip something down with the Phantom as well. So there's many different ways to go about it here. We talked about Bruisers to split up the row. I think that these are really good because obviously if we can push something to a row that has Frost on it already, we can damage that card by 2 that same time. So maybe that helps remove something that we're trying to get rid of as well, which is really cool. More deck thinning here. Again, that's really important to me when it comes to monsters lately, because I don't want to be missing cards against other decks that are non-devotion that are pulling all their cards. So we definitely want to have the Riders in this package. And for that reason, because I'm fitting a lot of these cards in this 5-6 range here, we don't have room for the Foglets. I'm sure maybe someone will ask, not a bad card. It does get value in some certain situations. I feel like if I was going to run these, I might want to run Red Riders as well, and then it kind of takes away from some of these mid-range plays that I had in mind. So again, you could put these in for sure, but I opted to not put them in my version here. Now, Naglfar Crew is probably one of my favorite cards in the entire deck. On deploy, spawn Frost for 2 turns on an enemy row. At the end of your turn, if there's Frost in the opposite row, boost self by 1. So not only is this doing damage, it's a damage engine, it's also a defensive engine, boosting itself every turn. It has the armor on it, which makes it a little bit more difficult to remove, and these can get out of hand if left untreated. They just really make sense, because if we get them down early, prior to playing Aridin, prior to playing Ardgeth, prior to playing the leader charges, we get tons and tons of value off these, right? They just can't avoid them. We have 1 on each row. We're doing really well. So that's that. Talked about the 4-point removal. I think it's very necessary here. That's pretty much it. And Conqueror is one of the best and most inexpensive point slams in the game right now. If there's Frost in the row, if we pull it off Oberyn, they play for 9 points, but normally they're going to be playing for 8 points because there'll be Frost on the opposite row when we play it. We could position it that way, so 8 for 4 is just really good. And the Hounds Obviously, I have a really high point ceiling. If we have dominance at the end of your turn, boost self by 1, so these will just keep going and going and going, right? And we want to play these as early as possible. We can even boost one up with a tactical advantage to secure dominance early on in round 1. Now, I'm not opposed to the idea of changing the stratagem. Like, you could put Crystal Skull, but I just opted to go for TA here because a couple cards have Veil, but you know, Crystal Skull is not a bad play either, because maybe you want to boost something like the Aridin, or maybe you want to boost something like the Crew. So it's up to you what you do there, but this is just what I have here. So I'll be showing you, like I said, those 7 games for today with commentary, so you could see for yourself. I'm not going to be doing live commentary for these ones because I was doing a stream over Discord. You know, it's kind of what I'd like to do for you guys sometimes in the morning, is just have a little morning stream, have the coffee, and just, you know, play some cards together. So I'll be doing post game for this, but expect a lot of live commentary this week. And if you enjoy the video, don't forget to sub to the channel. We're really pushing it, so let's keep the goals in mind. We're pushing for 6K. Let's get it done. Alright, so for the first game, we got Nilfgaard Enslave, and I think it's Enslave 5 in this case. This video might be out a little bit later than normal. I just was pretty tired yesterday evening, so I didn't get around to doing the voiceover stuff, but I'm feeling pretty good today. Got the coffee, got like 2 little squares, 90% dark chocolate, you know. Gonna try and get back in the gym today because they just reopened recently, so I'm excited about that. Aparian Phantom, I'm just doing a check on the Enslave here. It's one of those things where if we were to boost it, they probably use other means to remove it. If we don't boost it, they take it here. I almost think that them taking it here is not as bad. You know what I mean? Just get rid of 1 engine first. Like, when they go and do that, they're pretty much taking the round from us with taking that card, but it's one of those things where I don't think it matters, because later on that's pretty deadly too. The only thing that's kind of frustrating is that we're not going to be able to get dominance quite easily for getting the riders out, right? So we have to let this stick, but I feel like it's going to be pretty difficult too otherwise, right? Because they're going to have something to damage it, I'm sure. Okay, that's not all bad. What is bad, though, is that 13 points on their side. So I don't necessarily want to boost the spear tip in the event that they go and they just take that somehow, or they remove that from the game, right? I don't really think we have a choice, though. Like, I would like to play down to 5, just get it over with. Maybe just throw them out here. If they remove it, so be it. I suppose that's fine. I think that we just played here. There would be maybe a line where we decide to hold on to it, mulligan it back, and look to bring it out with Operan later. But I've already sort of decided that we'd probably lose the round, right? And I was hoping to get another gold in exchange for it. Okay. We want Toad Prince probably for Helga if they play it. A little bit late to put down Naglfar Crew. Aridin's not really a good commitment here. 7-point slam off the Conqueror is not really ideal. I don't really want to spam leader charges either. We'll just wait. Yeah, I find when I start going back to the gym, guys, like, it's always difficult for the first couple weeks, but then you get this, like, just natural energy, you know what I mean? Like, it just improves overall. So I'm thinking that's like a priority in my life, getting, you know, like I'm not in bad shape per se, like, you know, I'm not like overweight really or anything like that, or like have any health issues, thankfully, but I'm saying like I just want to feel like more energetic, and that's a big thing. So once I get that part down, I'll probably like then start to consider maybe more of the streaming stuff, because, you know, gotta balance the commitments a little bit. So that's annoying, but I don't think it's really a big deal. We can just keep putting frost down here. This gets us ahead by 1 point on turn end. And this is like a good example of why I like Devotion. You see, we put down that Conqueror, it's solid 8 points. Put it down off the Auburn after, it's 9 points in round 3. Like, it's just hard to find replacements for that type of play in a non-devotion situation, right? Like, there are definitely cards you could put in nowadays that would be alright, but I'll go ahead and use that. It won't stop me from trying, though. I think at some point I'll take another crack at the non-devotion. I'd be interested to see what a muzzle does. I'd be interested to play more with the foglets as well. I think the foglets would do really well in non-devotion. Because that's something you could swap out Conquerors for foglets and keep all pretty much the other Wild Hunt cards in the Bronze End the same. And then maybe take out the Winter Queen. I think Auburn would probably stay. It just wouldn't get that third ability, so you'd have to find some strong cards to fix that, like to make up for it. So they're just really trying to trade with us here. Fortunately, we have some good cards we could just play that aren't like overcommitting, right? So a good example of that would be splitting up the Rose, then playing the Gales into Ardgeth. And notice how I'm always playing my Wild Hunt units on a row opposite of Frost, because when we go about it that way, we're getting that extra boost on deploy, right? There might have been once today that I can recall maybe that I didn't. I messed up on that, but if I see it, I'll point it out. Now we just crank this down here. We're doing alright. We sort of put the round in a spot where it's going to be difficult for them to come back from, and we had to do it now because I don't want them to keep pushing, right? We want them to just kind of slow down a little bit, realize that they're not going to take it in 2, and recon for round 3. I'm thinking it's a little bit short of a round here to really care a lot about Frost. We guarantee the Auburn, and we just kind of play points for power. We have Frost from Eridan and Leader, so I don't love playing that on an empty board. Coded weapons is the thing. Hopefully they don't have it. The annoying part about this is that obviously it takes away our dominance, so I want to play Eridan here, but I might even end up taking the Osrol, right? because we lose a lot of value on the Nithril if we don't. And then we'd want to try and set up the Frost as soon as possible. So probably this coming turn, Eridan comes down, Leader comes down, right? That's kind of annoying. It's like exactly what they needed to. I'm having an issue where I don't really want to push something from the back row to the front row, but I guess we could with like maybe a 2. I think it's probably time to take the Oberyn though. This coming turn. That's a pretty good roll, right? We go push that back. It's not a bad Toad Prince either. So, consideration to wait for that. However, it would have been worth 5 points later on anyways. It's just that we didn't get the full consume value, but I don't think it matters. In that situation, it's difficult to not want to save the Wrath for something else because, you know, they can have just about anything, right? By the way, guys, I just looked at the Gwent website before. Okay, pretty good win though, by the way. Jackpot coming up, Syndicate. I just looked at the Gwent website, and on the trending page, we got 5 of the top 10 trending decks right now on the entire website for the week. So, big thanks to you guys for that. That's really cool to see. So let's keep them coming, right? Oberyn goes back in round 1. I think we just start with something aggressive here. Play this, try and get the big points. I love to see the big Siggy swing in round 1. I mean, that's probably what you'd want to do if you're on red coin in this situation here where you need the tempo. If you guys are interested in playing some Syndicate decks, I put together a few this season. Some of the first ones I touched on. Spent a lot of time trying to get the recipe right, and really happy with the outcome. So, Syndicate's still good, still great. I think Firesworn is going to be troubled, and line pockets sometimes. However, still some great options with Syndicate, mainly Jackpot off the books. But I plan on working on the other ones and seeing if I can come up with something as well. So they're playing aggro. We have to put the frost down and really try and take them out here. Nithral's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea either. Because with the frost, we could decide if we want to get out here. It should be enough points. That's actually not even bad either. Just keep it going. Like, this is what I love about the Naglfar crew. Just watch them work. And it's hard for me to want to put Red Riders when I have crew. So I'm not trying to lose to Assault right now, but I understand that if they keep playing, then we might lose to Assault. But we had a little bit of bronze we could trade there, so I think we even have room to play one more. We shall conquer this world as we have conquered countless others. Yeah, so Maril's comes down. Look, they spent Siggy, Philippa, Saul, Maril's round 1. We just took a Thin. Played some bronze cards. So yeah, we have to give it to him here. So I have to prepare for the fact that they might bleed with Savola. My voice is still turning on for the day. I just had a voice crack. Perfect dry pass though. I'm definitely not going to wait till the morning of to make my next video though. You know that feeling when you're like running late to the office and you want to stop for coffee, but you don't want to show up with a coffee because then they can tell you stop somewhere on the way and that's why you're late. So then you bring other people coffee so that it looks like you're being courteous and, you know, you get excused for being late. I have similar feelings when I tell everybody I'm going to be posting something at 8 in the morning, you know? And it's not. It's like 7:30 right now. Okay, so I guess that was the big play. They decided to forfeit there. Probably a lot of coins were going to be going into that, and they realized they probably wouldn't get the card back. So I'll take the win. Moving on to the next one here, though, it's Invigorate Scoia'tael. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and take it out that way. I don't really want to spend Toad Prince yet, even though it seems like the reasonable thing to play. I just know that there's going to be a lot of other stuff we want to take in this game. When I play, like, hand buff, I like to play the sorceresses as well. So, that's actually even a better Toad Prince, but we're running out of things to play and we don't have Frost. So, we could save the Bruisers for when we have Frost on the row, and we could take out the Sorks that way too. That's not all bad. I didn't see a line, but they're just going for the hand buff here. And I'm running out of things I could just play. I think we take the 7 points for points. I'm looking at what we'd roll, and the roll chance is not very good. So I don't think you want to go take it like that. But if they keep playing specials or stuff we can't interact with, it kind of pushes us into a spot where we have to pass because it's, you know, nothing to deal with.
Sisters, follow me!
And that'll do it. It'll take Simlas and maybe something else to get ahead. So, at least it pushes us into a long round where we do very well.
Feign not ignorant. Remember to whom you speak.
Illusions.
Pretty good roll there.
They can accomplish.
If my coin's rank to ye, go kiss a dog neath its tail.
Okay, so we want something we can throw. We definitely want to throw a card, but I also want a strong hand. We have to really make that happen. We got all 3 of the Wild Hunt cards at hand. You want to make sure that you have 2 or less. Put back the Ardgeth, right? And I think at this point, we just take a Bruiser on the throw. I don't like to do that, but it wasn't certain that they wouldn't push, you know what I mean? So I didn't really want the Aparian Phenom, or not the Aparian Phenom, the little hound. If you know, they were gonna push and they'd start off with dominance because they would have used the hand buffs. So again, we have that 3rd card. Make sure you get rid of it. We have Spear Tip and Old Spear Tip Asleep in hand. We have to get rid of one of those if we're going to do it that way. We probably put back the Spear Tip, right? Because even if they damage the Asleep, we can pull out the original. And, yeah, any other mulligans really kind of seem risky, I think. That's great. I'm just reading we have a special weather warning today in my neighborhood. It's prolonged periods of freezing rain. Nice. Okay, that might influence whether I actually drive to the gym. We'll have to see how it is around lunchtime. Okay, so that's not all bad. The problem with the whole, like, Spirit Tip Asleep is that oftentimes you'll see people damage it, which is not even that bad, right? It still accomplishes, like, bringing that card out, getting that 12 points. It's always so dramatic when Invigorate goes to use the leader, like all 3 charges, because I feel like it takes half their turn to do it. And you start to see the rope come down, you see? That's one of the things I found when I did that. Like when I would play Invigorate, sometimes I'd barely have enough time to play a card after. So I think that those bonded won't be good for us. So I'm just going to go on a whim here and say they probably have another one, and we could do 3 damage with a frost. So we played on this row so that we get the boost, right?
When the right frost comes, the world will at last be cleansed.
Okay, I just got a comment. I can see like YouTube comments pop up on my desktop. And someone's asking me if I BM. So I have to see what they're talking about. Oh, okay. No, they're not talking about me. I was gonna say I do not BM. I'm a nice guy. So yeah, pretty nasty board state right now. Obviously we can just really clean things up, and we have some more ways to get frost on the board, which is great. All of which would play for that 3 points per turn kind of thing. So the setup that we have right now is very concrete. And this is kind of the way that it's going to look if you're playing into matchups that aren't very control heavy, right? It's hard for them to deal with it. I don't think they should have put the bleeding on the Thrive, however, at this point I think they're just being courteous and playing the game. I don't know if, you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty over unless whatever they have, Torque Skags, is like a significant amount of points, but I don't think so, because they got very minimal carryover, right? We answered a lot of the carryover engines early, and we should just be alright. We can crack some more frost down next turn. You see? And I didn't see Dunka yet. They used the harvest, but they didn't like cycle out any more harvests, you know? I was thinking about it, but it's not really that important. We'll go ahead and push these, and then maybe move the Torque to the other row so that the Matron gets destroyed. And then the Torque takes the extra damage off the push, right? And as far as like playing something with Osrol, we would just look at the tallest unit when the time comes. But yeah, like this is why I kind of have the deck the way it is here, because if you notice, we're pulling our cards very well. And I find like anything less, we don't pull them. And it gets pretty frustrating like that. I think that's something that we should have seen maybe a little while ago. I kinda want to just take that out because it has the order of 3. Except we do lose a little bit of frost. I think we just take it. Now we can go and do what we're trying to do. That was a mistake. Actually, no, it makes sense. It makes sense. Because the frost is on that row longer. Yeah, that's fine. Earlier, I probably would have moved this card. But, yeah, Matron works. That's actually a huge Skaggs play. But it's too bad for the target that we have the Osrol answer here. So, we just go ahead and get the points right back. And that should do it, right? They take more damage here. Perfect. We lose dominance on that turn, though. And Aglaeus is not really that big. Close to mastery with this one here. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Syndicate Jackpot again. Get a mulligan back to bricks. I don't like holding on to Osrol round 1 either, so I usually put Osrol back.
No, dwarves do not qualify for childcare tax relief.
And couple things here. I think that taking Frost is just fine.
Are you cold, human insect? It won't be
We just want to have engine superiority, so, you know, trying to get out our engines quicker is ideal. I'm thinking about maybe pushing them a little bit, because that's going to be working at a point a turn. So we could take that out of the way, and a Parian Phantom's not bad here either. It'll get the extra boost, yeah. I'm worried about like a Philippa or something like that at this point. But just tons of points. We want to really show them what we can do on red coin. It's kind of nice to see something like this early. So if they don't take leader, we deal with that. So it's probably a bruiser. Yeah. Just play it on this row so we get the extra boost. Okay. I liked it the other way too. Yeah, I like the bruiser. I'm glad I went and took that. I don't think we needed to take another leader charge here. Syndicate doesn't really have great movement techs, you know? That's the hard part about it. They don't get the bounty payoff because of the Veil here, so not bad. Pretty bad trade, I think. And then that's just something we can get online here. This puts us at a round tie if they pass. And we have dominance, so we could go ahead and play riders here. It feels safe. I don't anticipate playing too far into the round, but now I'm seeing, okay, we might have to, so we can put down the Ardgeth. However, there was also an option before to play the Ardgeth sooner, and then play the riders because we get the extra point. But again, them thinking we don't have frost makes them split up the rows a bit more than we hit them with the frost, so it works out quite well. We take the win on even here going into round 2. I think it's one of those things where we do play, right? We want to see the Savola combo come out in round 2 so that we don't have any of those surprises in round 3. And that could be a win condition, so. I'm trying to decide if I want Osroll. I mean, it's not bad. Osroll could go back. Ardgeth could go back. Kind of just looking at those. Okay, so obviously that's not ideal, right? Having Old Spear Tip asleep and the Spear Tip. A couple different things you could do in this situation. You could wait to play it, or you could bait it.
We shall conquer this world as we have conquered countless others.
And we'll see if it's necessary before we do. We have to sequence properly, so putting down Naglfar crew, getting this out of the way, getting the engine online is probably the way to go. And then we could play maybe the Asleep as if it was actually going to proc in a turn or two. Damn. It's kind of scary. So their Devotion. Here, we'll play this like that. I'm thinking, okay, if they're Philippa, they're going to take that. Right? And then we're good. Okay, you see Maril's comes down. And they took the tribute as well, right? So I will probably just play it from hand, but getting the frost down is really important. It's going to help contribute to us getting the Savola out of the way, because we don't want them just to put down a Jackal and spend. We want to see bigger commitments than that. That's gotta hurt. There we go. They took the bait, so they're like, alright, we gotta play our own thing here, make it happen. And I don't mind. Like, I don't mind pulling Naglfar here to keep them in the game, basically, right? Wrath is not bad. We take Wrath on something, take away their spender. Now they gotta put down another spender. I don't think we ever take the leader here. I was contemplating, but it's not really worth it. We're only getting the one turn of us playing, right?
You shall confess all in due course.
That's probably where we call it. We want to save last say for the spear tip and the Osril. And I'm pretty happy with the commitments that we got in this game. Their bank is going to be cut in half. We got the leader out of the way as well in this round, so we're doing pretty well. And you pretty much have the perfect hand here. Now, I think you do. Well, obviously I'd want to have the Toad Prince, but you have to consider, is it worth it? Because we could get the Hound. We could get Gales and they're going to row stack. I don't think it's as important. Go ahead and take them all again anyways. See, I probably wouldn't, like if I was to go back, but it's not the end of the world. Like, I think we still have an advantage over them here. Yeah, we still have space to split up the rows. We can play Naglfar, or not Naglfar, but Nithral here. Something like that. That was a mistake. So I forgot about the 5 in the back row for a second, and I got trigger happy. So I should have played Auburn first. We lost a point, but I don't think it costs us the game. It's just if we're like nitpicking it, right? See, either way, it's over. And so we got the mastery for White Frost. That's really cool. Moving on to the next one here, we got Onslaught Skellige. We got a couple more games for you guys today. Go ahead and take care of that. I really have to work on some seasonal stuff. I missed the card back from last season because I didn't finish the tree. So I'm trying to think, do I do that today? I could potentially do that today to get my schedule back on track. We'll see. Because it involves a little bit less preparation to do something like that. I expect Onslaught to be a very difficult matchup for Frost in a lot of cases, especially in late rounds because of all the armor. Right? They have control as well to take out our engines that we play, and they have the armor to protect themselves against what we're doing. Also, cards like Half-Brew and stuff like that, when they get damaged, and sometimes they'll be the higher base power units that they have, they'll be able to just dish some damage onto our row, so they trade pretty well. So I would anticipate, you know, having some issues with that. We could just go ahead and play something like a Hound or something like a Crew here. Okay. So we still have dominance, but I'm trying to decide how well I want to play into this round. There was definitely an option there to go and take the Hound, but at the same time, there's an option here to just take the Riders.
Kiss my tail goodbye.
It's one of those things you just want to play before it's too late to play and it doesn't really see value, but if it can get to 7, I'm feeling pretty good about it. So we did all right. But there's a lot left, right? We have to get through tons of stuff. Did a decent job though in round 1 taking some of the cards out of the deck. So we got the Riders out of the way, we got the Spear Tip asleep, pulling into the old Spear Tip, so a couple nice little thins there. We have Naglfar and Gales in hand, so we should be drawing the cards that we're looking for, right? And I feel, given that we did win on even, it makes sense to play here and try and take away some of their carryover. So if we could see Sunset in round 2, that's definitely something helpful, because Sunset could deny dominance in round 3.
I can do a great deal more for you.
So that's good. Blank with Coral, however, that's bad. Couple different things. I think Eridan's good to get out early here if we're going to commit to those big things here, because getting the 3 Frost for turn is going to really help us bleed better. And then obviously getting crew down soon is going to help too. Just have those 2 engines going at the same time. Now we're getting to the real trades here. Heatwave is good. Obviously with Eridan, some of the damage has already been done. We have Frost for 2 turns. 3 damage has already been... Well, yeah. We're doing alright. Seeing Heatwave then's fine. And the nice part about it too is that we could play down most of our hand, right? Probably play down to 1. I don't think we can go all in, because they're going to have a lot of points coming off the Sunset, but other than that.
Oh, how wonderful! You speak our tongue.
King Oberon, Tyr the Lear.
Obviously playing into the Halfers isn't great. They get pretty good value off a click here.
Don't you pester me.
So it is a pretty good time though to go into Ardgeth, right? We take the Thin right now. I wish Gales wasn't roll locked.
Naivety is a fool's blessing.
So pretty good. We're trading pretty well. They've gotten their whole leader out of the way, which is great. And we're setting up for a really big finisher play, obviously, with the spear tip. We have that engraved at 18. They probably didn't have a heat wave available in round 1. Okay, perfect. See, now we're starting to get the cards that we wanted to trade for, right? Crack, Sunset, Heatwave, the Mushy Truffle. I think we just push the Crack here, break the armor off, start getting damage. There's a lot of turns of that on the row, so... And there obviously would be some consideration to go all in this round, but what's preventing me from wanting to try that is the fact that Morkvarg is a thing, right? And we could be wasting our Osroll if we play into the Morkvarg. So I'm actually just pretty happy that we saw Fukushia here. And I think we can afford to play once more. Just because if they do pass, then we just go and we fetch whatever we need to win, right? So they kind of have to play. Peller comes down. Again, we know what the play is. I can almost guarantee that it's going to be that Morkvarg. Now, taking Naglfar wouldn't be bad as long as we don't choose the Osroll, you know? So, yeah. Take the Aparian Phantom. And we can just use it. So now they have to play. And if it is a Morkvarg, then we'll get it out here, right? And we know we're going to be top decking into the card that we need. Osroll round 3 because we saw it. And so perfect play, right? So they have the Mushy Truffle carryover. If we can prevent them from lining up the units, they don't really get a lot of value from that. And then we have a uncontested finishing play. I do think the round's a little bit short for something like Ardgeth, though. That's the problem with the card. So we definitely want to look at tucking that back. Auburn's perfect, so... I think we just win the game, right? Whatever they play, we just start manipulating with our leader ability. And we just start slamming down Wild Hunt cards. I wish I saw the Bruiser, like, Obviously, I would have wanted to put the frost on both row.
Are you cold, human insect?
I decide to set up both rows just so that if they do play something, it's fine. And at this point, I'm not really pressed for points. Yeah, so we'll be alright. I think they're just trying to greed out that play. Like, lining it up perfectly to get the mushy truffle. So it does make sense to me to just go ahead and play this and take that away from them. We don't need to use our last leader charge in this game. Yeah, and that's just not enough, right? Osro worth 19 points, no contest. Moving on to this one here, we've got Scoia'tael Guerilla Tactics. So generally, as I mentioned, Auburn goes back early on. And Osro feels good to put back early on. I think we have to boost that here, otherwise it just gets answered pretty easily. So Saskia is somewhat a challenge, however, this is something we can answer, right? So, at the beginning of the turn they get Frost in the back row, that's 2. If they put something beside it, we can move it with leader and give the other 2, right? Yeah, so... I think I actually made a mistake here. You don't move this before you take care... Yeah. Yeah. I was playing this during a Discord stream and chatting while playing. That's probably, like, yeah, we lost the point. Fortunately, we get out of the round with not too much trouble. But always Toad Prince the Sentry before you push the Cat Witcher, right? And so we can decide if we think that it's worth bleeding a little bit. I don't think it's the end of the world if we try. But it really kind of comes down to what they play over the next turn or so. At this point, I don't mind Nithral, because if we play something like Nithral, then they can just answer it soon. And then we don't have to deal with that in round 3, because I don't think Nithral gets a lot of value in this matchup because, right, leader charges. So that's what I'm trying to decide here. Is it Nithral? Is it a Point Slam? I think it's Nithral. They're going to have a hard time resisting, I think. So it's either like a Rebuke. That's like the hardest thing to see. Well, I wasn't happy about that, but it is what it is. I much rather play against the coin with this deck. Like, it does have proactivity, don't get me wrong, but obviously a lot of the benefits come from playing second, right? Having Frost down and then playing something is going to be really good for Wild Hunt. Okay, not bad. That's easy. We just take that out really quickly. There. Can't be risking it with Frost and stuff like that. Their leader protects those things. We do 2 damage, they heal, right? This is kind of gross. We want to get rid of everything they're going to play, I think, at this point. Eridan's not a bad play. Oberon's not a bad play. Eridan's probably a smarter play if we're thinking about the long term, right? Get this engine online fast, start benefiting from it. And it's going to require them to take leader and a rebuke to deal with it. Okay. So yeah, let's just play into this like that.
Bring me fish tech, then leave me be.
It's probably the engine. Like, we want to have engine superiority. They have 1, we have 3. That's a tough one. I don't value Oberon as much as Eridan in this case. I think you'd probably want to take care of the Eridan first, because we have a lot of turns of Frost going around. And we got to start thinking about... We definitely have to start thinking about getting rid of that Cat Witcher. I think what I was intending at the time was going into deck for the Aparian Phantom or using the Wrath. So either of those are good options. I think the Aparian Phantom's a bit better, because we're not really going to get super crazy engine value from it here. You see what I mean? It's the only gold card, so we know we're going to be pulling that at some point. So it feels bad if we just don't go ahead and play it. And it's something I would have liked to play maybe a bit sooner, right? See, look at that. And then turn start, boom, right? And what's nice about it here is that we do have the Bruiser to split up the row one last time if they try and play around it. But we don't have to here, because it looks like, yeah, I go take the roll in the range row. I don't mind taking Bruiser still, because we want to get the damage before we lose it. There we go. And we should just be good, right? We have the 19-point finishing play with Last Say. Nilfgaard comes out here.
Novigrade's a real beauty. It's stood in the floor.
It's too much of a liability to play Osrol, I think, early to get a better Wrath. So I think we have to play Wrath for like the best value that we can, which in this point would be the 6 points, right?
You're not my first royal. You're not my last.
Take actually 7 off the back gourd because we have the Conqueror. Yeah, that's not bad. And then whatever they play, I think we just outpoint. Heat Wave last card. Yeah, that could have costed us the match. So there's that one, and obviously the winning streak had to come to an end at some point, and this is where it ended. Okay, so we're showing both sides. Actually, it would be nice to watch this game back again too. I was thinking about, like, was it winnable? We'll find out. It came down to a couple plays. Like, the last round was very close. So I don't know if it was winnable.
Praise be to the great sun!
Your souls will prepare this slumber.
Alright, so yeah, we gotta get some engines down there for sure. I think this one's Enslave 6, right? Pretty sure they are. I'm glad that we did take the Thin there because obviously it helps us out quite a bit. It makes some of the other plays that we have a little bit awkward, obviously with them with the 13 power unit. Like, Aridin doesn't really feel appropriate here, the Hound doesn't really feel appropriate, we can't play Auburn in round 1. Really the only thing we could do is maybe nudge it down with the selection, right? I'm big roping here. I roped. I was in a conversation at the time and I couldn't think about what I wanted to play fast enough. So these things happen. Which is the bad part about it. I don't think that necessarily contributes to us losing. But I think it's unfortunate.
The world will at
That's all.
last be cleansed.
And I had my leader sort of like semi-clicked when I roped, so that's why it went through with it. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's kind of frustrating. But I'm glad. Imagine it was Auburn or something, you know? At least it was a bronze. 24, they take the yen. That's kind of nice. We do not have dominance. I think we have to keep applying some pressure here. Now I'm really wishing we had that 7 points. That's a nice little tech. So we still have dominance here. We still get frost. Hopefully we don't hit the armor. There it is. So there's very few things that'll put us back here. Leader comes out. You see, I'm feeling pretty good about this. But that's a huge lead. So, regardless of us roping, the commitments we got here are big, right? And if they're willing to happen now, they're most certainly would have happened if we had that card to play. So I think we do pass with this, because we could take out the rider later if we pull it with the operant. So it's one of those things where I could mulligan it back and maybe get some value from it later, or at least an option to play it. So they're on Enslave 5, I think, actually. Yennefer's Invocation. We probably tuck back the Ard. It's an option at least. Okay, so quick pass, not bad. I think in like a semi-long round, I kind of value the crew more than the bruiser, so I go and play the bruiser here. Now it's just about pulling decently in round 3, right? Okay, 2 is a little bit greedy, 1 feels pretty good. Our Osrul's not great in this matchup, but it's not horrible. Could take it offensively perhaps as well. I think that's the best our hand's gonna get. We have the Calviet, so we could play Osrul for 9 points. I'm pretty sure that's our Phantom that they have, right? That's what they took Yen on? Yeah. So we'll just push that back so they can't use the order. And, if I take a natural on it, then we get rid of it, right? Goes to 6. Because they've got 7 cards in hand, so that could be a pretty nasty round of that just healing itself. And then we still have time to play the Auburn King with the Frost on the ranged row, right? So truffle's kind of a big deal. It's probably still the crew here at this point in the round. And I have to say, I'm feeling pretty good about this matchup because if you look at it here, guys, due to the fact that they had to answer the crew, they lose the bonded ability on those illusionists. So I'm looking at the scoreboard. Okay, 17-1. They're going to be losing that 1 point that they have soon. We have some gold cards in deck. We're feeling pretty good. Big finishes at the end here. What can go wrong, right? Shoop. Shoop's a problem. It's that version. Stacking sort of played into it as well. I feel like Toad Prince and just take the points, right? Because we want to take away from the truffle. Another Phantom. So we can just kill that, basically. Ah, they just go ahead and use it. We probably do hold out for a better Wrath at this point. I'm trying to decide if I should take... if I should be taking the Spear Tip or the Oswald first. And I think I decided to take Spear Tip in the event that they kill the Spear Tip, we could take the Oswald, because I'm expecting when I see Shoop and I see Yen and I see all these things, but it's still on Enslave 5, that they wouldn't have like another answer, right? And I think this comes down to our, maybe one of our only winning lines here. And that would have been saving that for last. And I'll show you what I mean here. Because we go and take Oswald here, but then I believe they have the Heat Wave, which takes out the 12. And it really just came down to sequencing. Not planning for a Heat Wave was pretty bad. And that's probably, I think, what comes next. Yeah, you see? They took it. And so our Wrath didn't even get better, right? We just got the 4-point Wrath. I was thinking at this point we probably won, but I wasn't planning for Redea, so Redea takes the game, and it's just how it goes. I don't know what I'm going to be playing for tomorrow, but I do know I'm going to be playing something, so we'll see you guys then. I hope you have a great day, and looking forward to a nice week. See you then.